In episode 16, the Goseiger successfully beat back Warstar and drive them back into deep space. They've won the battle. Earth is safe once more. Huh? Wait a minute, that was only 16 episodes. It's supposed to take like 50 or 52 for them to beat the enemy, right? Well, as it turns out, in episode 17, they're introduced to a new breed of villain called the Yumaju, who are a race of demons that have been hiding inside the bowels of the earth ever since they were beaten by Gosei angels thousands of years earlier. So, of course, the 5 Gosei angels currently on Earth know absolutely nothing about any of this and probably get their asses handed to them. Just as the Goseiger are about to be destroyed for good, a new character shows up on the battlefield all of a sudden. Who calls himself Gosei Knight. Gosei Knight fought alongside the Goseiger thousands of years ago, so he's quite well acquainted with the Yumaju. However, Gosei Knight doesn't use Landic, Seic, or Skyke power in particular. He has his own brand of Gosei magic, which is known as Knightic power, which allows him to wield all 3 of the tribe's powers. You know, I have to say I'm actually rather impressed with the way Gosei Knight turned out. Yeah, he's got some extra gaps and stuff seen down here, but look at the size of his torso. Yeah, the arms are a little small, but hey, at least it's got articulation in the shoulders and the elbows. I also really like how he has to look through the visor that's covering up his eyes. That's pretty awesome. And don't you even have to bring up the fact that he's got these awesome little... What? Oh! Gao Knight's pretty small. He actually only stands about 4.5 inches tall. And the detail on him is... it's appropriate enough. It's simple for a 4.5-inch figure. For example, yes, he has elbow articulation, but it only goes side to side. Anyways, he's got a little detail sitting in there. A little. The shoulders ratchet. It's actually surprising how frequently they ratchet. It's not 45 degrees or 30 degrees or anything like that. No, actually, I haven't measured it, so... there is a little bit of posability in the legs, but due only to how he transforms. And this guy actually doesn't balance very well, so it's kind of thankful that he's got some ankle articulation. He doesn't really stand very well. He actually is a little bit on the back heavy side, but it's more because of how, not loose, but just kind of weak these knee joints are, the way things are set up. So, whatever. Head has the Gosei angel symbol on there. I can't get any closer to this because it's too fuzzy. And because of the transformation, you can make him look down a bit. So that is Gosei Knight, who actually has a little bit of a secret. You see, there's a reason why nobody knows who Gosei Knight is because he is, in fact, the Groundian header, who was lost 10,000 years ago in a battle with the Yumaju. And so this is... Gosei Knight struck a deal with the Earth. Unlike Gosei angels who are born, raised in Gosei world, things like that, Gosei Knight, or rather the Groundian header, was buried in a glacier for umpteen thousands of years, and he made a pact with Earth that if the Yumaju ever showed up again, he would have the ability to transform himself into Gosei Knight, and he'd be able to use his own Knightic powers. So, yeah, this is the Groundian header, and there is no articulation whatsoever on it. The Groundian header, which, when attached to a giant mining dump truck, becomes Gosei Groundian, which has no pilot because the header is the pilot. Pretty stocky looking Gosei machine. It's the largest Gosei machine we've seen yet, certainly as far as weight. Why does he have a pair of wings on top of him? I don't get that. Nice gold details in the front here for the claws, and right there. Gosei Groundian. And because he's called Groundian because he's a ground lion, which means he can roll on the ground on his, get this, 12 ABS wheels. Each and every one of them is independent. Look at that. There's 12 wheels. Not just on the outside, but on the inside as well. How crazy is that? So yeah, that is Gosei Groundian, who can roll on the ground, and that's all he can really do. Of course, what kind of sixth hero would Gosei Knight be if he didn't have some kind of special advantage over the other Goseiger? Well, how's about his own bonus pair of Gosei machines, which consists of the Sea Lion header, which has no feature to whatsoever. The mouth does not open and close. As the Sea Lion header, and the Skyon header, which to my eyes looks for all the world like a giant bullet. But they've already done that with Goseiger, haven't they? A bullet-shaped header. Doesn't that belong to Dadas? Yes, it does. The Skyon header. Now, the Sea Lion can attach to a passenger cruise liner to become Gosei Sea Lion, which actually looks more like a submarine, in my opinion. Although it does have some pretty awesome booster thingies here, reminiscent of a submarine. That does not really look like a cruise liner to me, even though it does have imitation deck plating. This kind of reminds me of a, I don't know, it kind of looks like a deck gun on a World War II battleship, you know? All hail Yamato. Gosei Sea Lion also has 3 wheels on the bottom. And that is literally all that Gosei Sea Lion does. And when the Skyon header attaches to a blimp, it becomes Gosei Skyon, which doesn't really look like a blimp, in my opinion. It has wheels. It's got another one of those single wheels like some of the Header brothers have. They'll spin. Looks more like an airplane to me. A blimp? I don't see that. Well, you probably see the blimp right here, which is probably why it's rounded. These wings can pop off if you need them to. So, it is Gosei Skyon. Something that I neglected to mention in one of my previous videos is, how is it that the Gosei Blaster is able to tell the difference between the different kinds of headers? How does it know if it's a Skyke tribe or a Seaic tribe or Landic tribe? There is no Nidic tribe, by the way. It's just Seaic, Landic, and Skyke. But anyways, how does the Gosei Blaster know? Well, if you look at the inside of all headers and any headers, you will notice that you see that little, on this one it's red, it's a little red tab sitting right there, and it's just one, it's off to the left side there. You will notice on the front of the Gosei Blaster there's a little pinhole right there and a pinhole right there. So let's see, because Skyon, by the way, Sky Lion, what's that supposed to be, a hawk, a falcon? I don't know. Anyways, when Skyon attaches to the Gosei Blaster, because this is a flying header, other than the fact that all headers fly, it's generally associated with a Skyke tribe, and therefore it will make the Skyke sound effects. However, if you put Sea Lion, there actually is such a thing as a Sea Lion, by the way, it will make the Seaic sound effect. Because you'll see it has 2 little tabs in there. There's one, there's the other. And so, of course, with Groundian, you can see he has a tab off to the right side, which means he's generally associated with Landic. I haven't seen very far into the series, but as far as I'm aware, none of Gosei Knight's headers are treated in such fashion. All of the others are, but all of the other headers that the Goseiger use, but none of those associated with Gosei Knight. So I'm glad I could clear that up for you. The transformation to Gosei Ground is pretty lackluster when compared to Gosei Great. Actually, you're only dealing with 3 components and a lot of part swapping and little or no real transformation. And so once again, I feel it is my obligation to liven things up a little bit. Posability for Gosei Ground is Super Sentai Standard. In other words, all the way around. And nothing more than that. Doesn't have any weapons, doesn't have any built-in special features. It has 2 header mounting points here and kind of sort of third one right here where its willy should be, but otherwise this toy doesn't really do anything. It doesn't have any posability to it. Yeah, you can press these buttons and slide these back, but you know, that's it. So posability is not that great, and it doesn't have any action features by itself or gimmick abilities other than what's on the knees. And so that's it for Gosei Ground. Gosei Knight's cards are different from those that the Goseiger use. Well, they look and function more or less the same, it's just that you need the Leon cellular henshin device in order to run this. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, another Super Sentai cell phone henshin device. Bandai, Plex, what the f***? Seriously. And you know what, it doesn't even act the same as the Tensou. You stick it into the Leon cellular, and not when you close it up like a good cell phone does it activate the sound effects. No, you have to punch the numbers in. If that's the case, what's the point of having the barcode on it if it's not even reading the barcode? For that matter, does the barcode do anything? Well, actually it does. So what happens when you try to stick one of Gosei Knight's cards into a Tensou? Here's what happens. Tensou! Ah, dissed and dismissed. Let's try it the other way. I bought the Tensou right here specifically so that I could demonstrate what the Gosei cards were, because I knew I'd be getting cards in every toy sample that I got. And here it is, I found out I have to get another card reader in order to read a bunch of different cards. Well, you can forget about me doing that, because I am never, ever, 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 ever getting a Leon Cellular, okay? So, don't even ask. Of course, as we all know, Gosei Knight is not the first Super Sentai character to start out at human size and then grow to become part of a giant robot by transforming. That distinction actually belongs to Wolzard, the Dark Magician Wolzard from the 2005 Super Sentai series Mahou Sentai Magi Ranger. Now, there's actually a couple of reasons why I like Wolzard. First of all, he's badass. Second of all, he looks awesome. Third, he comes with his own weapons. Fourth, he has awesome articulation. And fifth, when he transforms, well, kind of sort of when he transforms, he doesn't look awful. And sixth, what he combines into, along with the other mecha, doesn't look bad. And actually, like, transforms. Here, let me show you what I mean. He has his own weapons, which, by the way, can be stored there. And his transformation was a little on the simple side. I mean, you just fold the arms together, fold the head into a little slot. By the way, that's always been one of the cheats of a transformation, is just folding the head down into an empty compartment. It's like, what hangs that in there when there's no head in there? I digress. Anyways, you plug this in here. You carefully have it grip the shield underneath like that. And then, like a decent giant robot, stick this in here. Close that up. Attach the badass looking head, even though it has a horse sticking on the top. And there you see, you can't really see much of him, except from the side and from up here. But, you know, he's got the wolf shoulder thingies, which is awesome. But, I mean, there's Wool Kaiser. Like, the transformation's awesome, and he looks badass no matter what you do. And oh yeah, he's got that awesome articulation in the shoulders, knees, and double articulation in the hips. Like, how can you go wrong with that? Oh, by the way, how is it that this never made it to American shores? I really don't get that. But this is just atrocious. I mean, what the hell is that supposed to be? Does he have mutton chops? Seriously? The lion's head is still visible. Why are these things sticking out back here? And, oh yeah, a little butt flap thing folds down. Officially, although I don't agree with it, when he is as Groundian header, officially, this is supposed to stick down like this, which, now he's got a stupid little beard. Why doesn't he have a mouth that can open and close? And just, it's not as satisfying as Wall's art, because there's a lot of twisting and turning, and you're not really transforming him, you're just kind of rearranging where everything is. And it's just not very satisfying. And, oh yeah, by the way, headers. Now, lack of articulation in Skyon and Sea Lion, I can kind of sort of understand that, but why is it that this doesn't have any moving features on it? This has little wings on it, and this has a little thing right here, I guess, and you can, you know, pop the headers off if you have to, if you want to. But the thing that really bugs me about Gosei Ground in particular is lack of articulation. Like I said, that's the standard. There's no excuse for no wrist articulation, elbow articulation. Like, these could have popped out and slid forward or twist or anything. It could even have twisted, you know, you could even have done this a little bit if you wanted to, but no, they didn't do that. You could have had waist articulation, like this thing could have twisted at the waist. There could have been a hip joint just forward and backwards, or maybe even a little outside to side. You know what? The other thing that bugs me real badly is you can't turn them side to side, even though they separate, even though it's the kind of joint that can twist. You see, it's a rectangle. They intentionally set it up so that you can't twist it. So, even though you can do this, you can't twist the lower legs. I mean, what the hell? Plenty of opportunities. Bandai, Plex, pop-out joints are the key to your salvation. That's a very good place to start. Guys, it's been 35 years since the Battle Fever Robo came out in '79, and this is the best you can do. Come on. You guys are better than that. However, I will give this to Gosei Ground, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is the only reason why I got this toy. The only reason. It looks better than this. What do I mean by that? Well, this is crap on so many levels. I did a 20-minute rant on that. Probably one of the greatest things I've ever done in my life. But it's kind of scrawny. It's out of proportion. At least Gosei Ground brings a little bit of muscle, of beef, of stocky armor, things like that. I mean, it looks like a Super Sentai Robo, kind of. At least a hell of a lot more than this thing does. And, oh yeah, it has the 12-inch height of a DX Super Sentai Robo. But, other than that, I don't see any real reason to get the DX Gosei Ground. Gosei Knight has this hesitation about the current generation of Goseiger because they're not very strong individually, but their predecessors were. But what the current Goseiger try to tell them is that when they work together as a team, they are stronger. But of course, Gosei Knight is kind of a sourpuss about this for 2 or 3 episodes, so he doesn't really believe them, and he doesn't really trust them, and he doesn't really like them. But eventually he comes to realize that maybe there's something in their words that rings true, and maybe he's waited an appropriate amount of time to initiate the combination between the Gosei Ground and the Gosei Great. Because, as it turns out during the monster battle in that episode, Gosei Ground wasn't any better at taking out that one monster alone than Gosei Great was. And they're all broken apart. And on that note, it's time to combine. Hey, you guys don't mind if I play Transform a Thing twice in the same video, do you? No? Okay, cool. Transform a Thing! Light up the way I sing! the standard configuration for Ground Gosei grate, you would have the Quagga header sitting right here. However, because I'm never going to get the Landic Brothers set, I can't show that to you. Fortunately, the staff of Ground Gosei grate can utilize the Quagga, Manta, or Taka headers. There. Now it's complete. Standard Super Sentai posing doesn't do so well on Ground Gosei grate because the arms can't go beyond Gosei grate's wings. So you're limited only to that. Unless you push that back, in which case it's not official. And so, that's all you can do for posing. This thing is huge. This is actually one of the larger Super Sentai combinations. This is only a second. This is a super combination, not an ultra. It is pretty massive. On the back, it's also surprisingly sturdy. But the only thing I'm worried about slipping out is the knee joint right there. But otherwise, not much I can say in the display phase of this video. And Ground Gosei grate's staff is, and whatever. Oh yeah, the face still can't be covered up. That must be confusing, having two handles in there at the same time. So that is, this is actually pretty good too. It's about 14 inches long. That's not too bad. However, because it's just those puny little light gray colored clips in there, that's why Sea Lion's mouth can't open and close, because it's suspected to hold the staff. And so that is it for Ground Gosei grate. Whenever in doubt, always shoot low and wide to make your figures as heroic as possible. And you know what? This guy does kind of look heroic from this angle. I mean, he's got this big old staff sitting over here. He's got some kind of, I don't know, admiral's hat sitting up here. He's got some kind of like a red cloak sitting back here. So yeah, this guy's out to conquer. Unfortunately, it does very little in conquering my heart. This thing is, well, you know what I'm going to say about parts forming, and you know what I'm going to say about block forming. Do I even have to bring it up? Too late, already did. In fact, the only real gimmick that this guy has is swapping the three headers over here, and that's it. Bringing the Seaic, Skaic, and Landic powers into this somehow, aside from depending on the Gosei machines from Gosei grate. However, you'd think that they'd put these in the spare header points, of which it has 7 still visible in this form. But there's a couple of things that bug me about this. For example, just like with Gosei Ground, there's so much stuff happening. Here's the shoulder joint right here. There's so much happening above it that there is below it that it's hard to tell if the arm isn't actually, if this actually isn't supposed to be the way down. Actually, I was wrong. That was 9 spare header points because I forgot to count the 2 up here. And, oh yeah, by the way, why is it that these are not turned like this? That would have been kind of interesting. Kind of. They tried to pack so much, so many features into the Groundian header that the only difference between Ground Gosei grate's head and Gosei Ground's head is that. Poor sucker, they couldn't even afford to give him a new head. And even then, you know, you have to guess where these things go. They're supposed to be tilted slightly up. So, yeah, that's not really thrilling at all. And I don't comment on this very often, but one of the things I dislike about Super Sentai combiners is stuff that's added to a combination that doesn't really do anything other than look interesting. The biggest example would be these hip panels. I mean, they don't have any function to them at all in any of the modes. I mean, it's put there strictly for appearance's sake. There it is. That's it. That's all they do. And even then, they don't really do anything. You know, they couldn't have snapped into place. No, they ratchet on the joint back here. I'm not a big fan of that. I remember in 2002 with Ninpu Sentai Hurricaneger, the feet on the Gorai Senpujin were also tilted slightly in an angle like this. You know, you couldn't really put them together because Gorai Beetle, you know, took up this huge chunk right here. And what eventually happened is the feet would, you know, ordinarily it was like this, but then it would actually set it slightly off center. But the thing that bothers me is these stupid little tabs right here. These things. And I'll tell you why. I'm just going to pull this off. It's going to fall over anyways. Well, the transformation is... it's kind of okay. It's also kind of simple. Of course, I already commented on lack of posability in Gosei Ground's arm. But the thing that bothers me is, why even have this big gray thing sticking out here? I mean, if all that this is supposed to do... It's like this when it's Gosei Groundion, so it can roll easily enough. And then the purpose of putting this down is so that it doesn't roll as easily. You know, it lifts these outside wheels out. Well, if that was the case, why not just have this, I don't know, like, have it turn? I mean, why do you have to put it way out here, have it stick out on top of this thing? I mean, this panel here doesn't latch onto anything. I mean, it doesn't do anything at all. So, when you're looking at Gosei Ground, why is this whole thing sticking out like this? I mean, aside from the fact that it adds a step to the transformation process, hooray, and sarcasm, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't even look good. I mean, it just... Although, admittedly, having the feet not just stick down like that was kind of interesting, because you actually have to push it down and then forward. So that was kind of interesting. Something else I found kind of interesting with Gosei Ground's transformation into Ground Gosei Great. By the way, that's a really weird naming system they have. Anyways, this is the front of Gosei Ground. This is the back. I know you can't really tell the difference because I don't have the chest unit or the wings on the back. Anyways, one of the interesting things that I like about the transformation... These are so loose, by the way. Why don't they just snap into place? Anyways, one of the things I like is not only that there's some transformation involved, woohoo, but that, watch where this is the shoulder joint for Ground Gosei Great. Watch where it ends up. You see, it shifts from here to back here. You know, the same over here. But here's the interesting part. You take Gosei Dragon, you just stick this on top, and then, so here you've got Gosei Ground's shoulder joint as well as Ground Gosei Great's, and here's Gosei Great's joint. Well, here's the interesting thing. In order to keep this snugly and firmly attached to this, you cover up the shoulder joints. That's actually nice. That's actually one of the very few things I liked about this toy, is that it didn't just snap into place or slip into place and lock on. No, it actually covered up the joints that were already there in favor of giving it some new ones. And here's the other thing. If they hadn't moved this, that shoulder joint would have been way far forward. So they actually killed two birds with one stone. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is some of that ingenious Japanese toy design that was seriously lacking from this toy line. But I'll save that for the rant at the end. And has anybody else noticed that Ground Gosei Great is actually a little top-heavy when it comes to the headers? I mean, why did these have to sit up here? You know, why didn't it keep it down here? All the headers sit from here up. But I suppose that's me being petty. So tell me, Ava, if you dislike these guys so much, why is it you bothered getting another one? Well, pretty much because Gosei Ground added a little bit of a muscular look, that blocky armor look that Super Sentai is well known for. And the other reason I got it is, honestly, so I could make this. Like, Gosei Great is not that great, but Ground Gosei Great kind of pushes it towards the Super Sentai norm. No, block former, parts former, blah, blah, blah. But Gosei Ground kind of contributes a little bit here. Now, granted, I still have problems with it, but I just had to kind of edge towards what was presented. So, yeah, that's why I got Gosei Ground. But I'm still standing by my judgment that Gosei Ground doesn't really do anything for Gosei Grade or by itself. Ever since Power Rangers first began in 1993, and I discovered Super Sentai in 2003, I have never been more anxious for one of its toy lines to end than I did in 2010. This is one of my childhood memories, which has continued year after year after year. And some would say that's a curse, and others, particularly those on CollectionDX.com, would say that's a blessing. That something when I was a kid is still appealing as an adult. But it's also those feelings of nostalgia and the craftsmanship and the quality of work that went into everything before that fills me with revulsion for the Tensou Sentai Goseiger line. I will re-emphasize my position one more time that I like the card collecting, the card utilization gimmick being used in a Super Sentai series. It worked well in Kamen Rider, it's worked well in a couple of other series, and it works here for the most part, except for maybe one or two little picks. So, yes, bring these back again, Toei, Bandai, Plex. Bring these back, because I would like to see a refined collectible card gimmick in a future Super Sentai series. I would support it. But the biggest reason that I think the series has lost a lot of support is the headers. Now, yes, Transformers, Headmasters, Master Force, whatever it was, okay, that was head swapping on mecha that everybody liked, but the thing is, at least the little heads did something, like they transformed into something. The heads on these three heads here, they don't do anything. These are fake heads, they don't count. Each Super Sentai series is formally introduced in February, and here it is November. I got the DX Gosei Great Tensouder and Gosei Blaster in June. I got the Gosei Ground a month later, and then I actually held off on reviewing Gosei Ground for a couple of months because I was waiting for one of the brother sets to come in, and also put one of them on the staff of Ground Gosei Great. So that was the reason it actually took me so long between this and this, because I was actually waiting for these guys to show up. I have to admit, though, that while my opinions are not as strong as they were in June or July when I first got these toys, these samplers, I'm still reluctant and depressed and angered by what has come out of the toy line. If I work really hard at it, I can do one review from scratch in about a week. That's usually what I can do. Offline interruptions notwithstanding, of course. However, just to review Gosei Ground took me 2.5 weeks. Typing out the stuff, that's not difficult. I could do that in an afternoon. Shooting the pictures, I did that the next day. But when it came to shooting the video, I just didn't have the usual energy for it that I do. It just dragged on and on, day after day. Oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. Thus revealing me as a Type B personality and procrastinator. And when I finally kicked myself in the ass and actually started shooting the video, it took me 2 days. It usually takes me anywhere from 1 hour to 3 hours in the extreme to shoot a full video, and then I edit the footage down, blah, 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 blah. But with Gosei Ground, it was so difficult to keep that energy level up one last time. This toy line just sapped so much energy out of me that I couldn't keep going. I couldn't keep going at the furious pace that I did any other previous Super Sentai or Power Rangers line that I've ever done. But tell me, Ava, is there anything at all that you liked about this toy line? You know what? Actually, there is. The surprise winner of I really like this toy was the Gosei Blaster. I couldn't believe it. I actually like the Gosei Blaster. When all is said and done, that will probably end up being the only toy from this toy line that will end up collecting dust in my home. Well, I might hang on to the Skyke Brothers. I don't know why, I'm just kind of lolling at them, and I might keep them. But these others, for the first time ever, I think I'm actually going to sell these things. Well, I might keep the specific cards from the sets, even though I'll probably get rid of the Tensouder. But, yeah, I'm not impressed here. I don't want Hyperdatus I don't want the Mystic Brothers. I don't want the Exotic Brothers. I don't want any of the weapons. Those things are all jokes. But on the other hand, I'm not too keen on the weapons from Super Sentai usually, so whatever. I'm not going to be getting a Gosei 10 sword. And you guys are going to ask me about this. I've decided that I am not going to be getting the DX Gosei Ultimate. Kind of interesting, but it's got this huge gap in the bottom, and it's got these weird gaps on the side where the headers are supposed to be. And while it actually has the first genuine transformation process in all of Tensou Sentai Goseiger, which, by the way, sucks so badly, the chest on that thing is enormous. The collapsed down master head face that sits on the front of the Gosei Ultimate, kind of interesting, but it sticks out so goddamn much it's not even funny. I distinctly remember in 2005, when Mahou Sentai Magiranger was first announced, I couldn't tell you how surprised I was by how much bitching and moaning and groaning and whining and complaining and a whole bunch of other negative feelings there were over how big the chest was on the DX Majin Gattai Magi King. I couldn't believe it. You know what? The chest, ladies and gentlemen, is not that big, it's not that broad, and it doesn't stick out that far. Compared to other Super Sentai mecha, it's not that bad. I will say, however, this thing is gorgeous. I love this thing because it's got style up the yin-yang. It's got a pointed wizard's hat, it's got freaking wings on the back, it's even got pointed wizard boots. I'm not reviewing this. I'll try to review this in the future sometime. I don't know when. Anyways, yeah, this thing rocks. But these things sucks. Matter of fact, in an email yesterday, I told Josh I'm done with this series. I can't go on anymore. I've pushed myself as far as I possibly can, and I am finished. I have finally had it up to here with this series, okay? Like, I am that pissed off about it. I'm kind of starting to repeat myself now about how much I dislike this series and how very little I liked about it. So I think I'll just stop here. Once more, I'd like to pass my special thanks on to everybody who has put their feedback into the reviews, both on YouTube and on CollectionDX.com, and for conveying your sympathy and humor and equal distaste for this line. I really appreciated all that. It's the only thing really that kept me going. So thank you very much for all the love and support you guys are sending my way. I really appreciate that. And so, this is AV Unit 4A for CollectionDX.com, signing off. 愛する星を守るため